And it is 11:05 a.m., May 8th. The determination of a quorum, Linda.
Linda McKenna, present.
Joe Hearn, present.
J.D. Martin, present.
Kevin Dexter, present. Keith Hunter, present.
John Mitchell, present.
Dean Forrest, present.
Joe Gurecki, present.
Ella Skinner, present. There is a quorum. Ms. Chancellor, you have any comments at this time?
I do have comments at this time. I'd like to go ahead and do it now. I have a PowerPoint. I promise, no death by PowerPoint.
Supposed to look at it. Just like watching a tennis match or what?
You get to pick the screen. I recommend this side look that way. This side look that way. I want to give you a little environmental context, and I want to tell you a little bit about where we're going, and then I want to share with you some of our overall operating priorities that are going to shape next meeting when we come to you with budgets and things. But I want to start with reminding you what our legislative mission is. So I'll just be quiet and let you read that. It's a good idea from time to time to re-up why we have TSTC. I don't know of another school in Texas that has economic development in their purpose. And it gives us a unique place in the landscape. Now read this. Bill was a director of the Pathway to Prosperity Project and a dean, some muckety-muck at Harvard University Graduate School of Education. This notion of maybe the four-year college isn't meant for everybody, in the end got him fired. He doesn't work for Harvard anymore. Here's one of the problems that we have with this whole notion. When we were kids, and our parents told us, we don't care what you study, just go get a bachelor's degree. It was true. Go get a bachelor's degree and you'll end up with a better job. But starting right here in 2000, this blue line, which is the cost of college, four-year college, and the earnings that you get diverged. So for the past 15 years, the promise of higher ed has been broken. Now what has to happen is students need to be selective as they pick their higher ed. There is no guarantee that a bachelor's degree will get you the earnings that it once did. And it was the year 2000 that that promise got broken. This is our comptroller. She said this a few years ago, when Susan Combs has always been a strong advocate for a workforce that's right for Texas. And she started speaking out a while ago about the fact that the supply is not matching the demand. Let me show it to you in actual numbers. This is from the U.S. Department of Labor and the U.S. Census. This was compiled by the Skills Coalition, which is a national think tank on training for, of aligning higher ed with the industries. High-skilled jobs. These are typically your baccalaureate type stuff. Now this is Texas. We've been working on closing the gaps for a really long time. We want more kids to go to college. That's a really good idea. But here's what we show is the green line is the supply of workers available for high-skilled jobs, and the brown line, or mauve line, is the actual jobs in Texas. We have a surplus of bachelor's degrees. The reason we have unemployment in this field is because we're not outputting the right blend of bachelor's degrees. Down here, this doesn't surprise anybody. We've got far fewer jobs, low skill. This means high school diplomas or less. We have far fewer jobs than we have workers in this category. No doubt about it. This is the bulk of your real unemployment is right there. This one scares the willies out of me. And we are hearing in an increasing voice from Texas industry that is scaring the willies out of them too. This is what we do. This is less than a bachelor's degree, but more than high school diploma. And typically it's a STEM-related type degree. This number right here is 52%. This number right here is 40. We have a 12-point gap. It's commonly called the skills gap. TSTC was talking about this in the legislature last time, and we were told to sit down and shut up because you're going to hurt our economic development. If you are telling people we don't have the workers we need, you're going to hurt our economic development. Please stop saying that. So we replaced our message with, there is a high demand for what we do. Here it is in numbers. That's the skills gap. Here's the problem. We have a supply gap too. This is a historical, this is from the coordinating board. The blue parts are academic hours taught in the 2-year colleges of Texas. The green line is healthcare and the red line, let me get this right. Yeah, and the red line is technical. What this shows you is since 2003, technical and healthcare training in the 2-year sector is virtually flat. Meanwhile, the skills gap is growing. We have industry sectors. I was talking to the vice president of BASF, who's down from the Golden Triangle area, and here's what he told me. The average age of my technicians is 55 years old. I'm going to lose 1/3 of my technical workforce within the next 8 years to retirement. And I don't have a healthy supply of replacements of a younger generation coming in. That's why when guys go to work for me, I pay them $70,000 right out of school. I need them that bad. But sooner or later, no matter how many billions we have in this plant, if we can find those workers somewhere else, we may have to up and move. What the 2-year sector is doing is they're responding to closing the gaps by teaching gen ed. And you can see that growth rate. This is coboard data. These are lines of best fit. So we have, what we have is, we have a demand gap, we have a supply gap. What I hear is opportunity knocking. Meanwhile, at TSTC, our output has gone up 32% in the past 4 years. The reason is the new funding formula. Your colleges are focused on getting people through and into the job. And they've been fretting about it for years now because they knew the funding formula was coming. 32% increase. The reason that we're placing all of them is, according to Manpower Group in 2013, these are the top 10 toughest jobs to fill in American industry. Number 1, skilled trade workers, technicians, IT and drivers. Truck drivers in the Eagle Ford Shale start at 50 grand a year. We can train them in 6 to 8 weeks. That's some high margin right there. The point is 40% of the jobs that are in the toughest to fill are in our sweet spot. And here is what you teach. We have the strategic supply. that meets the needs of that demand. Now, while the number of people we're putting in the workplace has grown 32%, their aggregate salaries have grown 54%. This is not our data. This is Texas data. If you want it, I'll prove it to you. 54% increase. Now, let me tell you why that, and by the way, not only is that a high number, but I think, do y'all remember seeing this before? This is TSTC versus UT Austin. Okay? I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Remember, I have a little longhorn too. These jobs right up here, these red bars are UT Austin. These are the starting salaries. The other bars, blue or orange, are TSTC. So, coming out of UT Austin, this is the nursing program in West Texas. West Texas. The only group that beats those are engineers out of UT Austin in terms of starting salaries. But you can see, how about this one? Line worker. That's a line worker. Their average starting salary is $51,092. So all of these blue and orange lines are our starting salaries for associate degree or certificate outcomes. And see this one right here, $39,956. That's a liberal arts degree from UT Austin. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 programs that beat a liberal arts degree from UT Austin. Well, it's a good story. This is how I've always talked to you about the funding formula. It's way too complicated. Watch this. This is the new funding formula. How many do we place? How much do they make? That equals our funding. Number of placements times the salaries equals our funding. So let's look at it one more time. Our placements are on a rocket up. Never had growth like this ever in the past. Meanwhile, our salaries are going up at a 50% clip over the past 4 years. Placements times salaries equals funding. So what do you think our funding is going to do in the years to come? There's a built-in lag in our formula. Under the contact hour system, the lag was 1 to 2 years. Under our formula, the new one, because it tracks a kid for 5 years, the lag is 6 or 7 years. So what we know is we have a boom coming our way in terms of our funding. 30% increase times 50% increase. Plus, the co-board is beginning to creep our calibration in their recommendations. And what I mean by that is, our new funding formula last time indicated that we should have been funded $150 million for last biennium. However, that was such a huge increase over what we had been funded in the past that it got calibrated down to be similar so that the legislature wouldn't have a knee-jerk reaction. We were okay with that, because we will slowly creep up on that calibration in the years to come with the goal of being fully funded. We were warned by legislators, if you do a new funding formula and you suddenly get a big increase, we're going to be suspicious of that. Don't you dare let that happen. And so we knew we had to do this. We also knew we weren't losing that much. I mean, we'll just start with where we were, but we'll let it creep. So what we have, I think, is a really bright outlook on what's coming our way. Why? Because we've earned it with the performance that's called for in the funding formula. So I feel really comfortable saying this to you. Now, funding is two things. It's accounting and politics. The accounting part we've handled. I'll tell you we'll do the best on the politics. check this out. Here's what communities are learning. That skill gap is going to throttle their prosperity. And they've got to find a way to improve their middle skills training. It typically is too expensive for community colleges to deploy stuff the way we do. I mean, we've always been able to afford it in a way they can't because they paid us more per contact hour than they paid community colleges because they knew the value of what we did. But because this is well known by the leaders in communities, here's what's happened to us in just the past 6 months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 communities have come to us and said, will you build a TSTC in our town? Now, the answer for a lot of these people is no, we won't. But what we know by this and the fact that middle skills are going to choke out these communities, that this is just an indication of what's to come. The skills gap will get worse before it gets better if something proactively isn't done. So we expect this kind of stuff to come at us. In some cases, those folks are going to come with money. Say, will you come if we pay for it? That answer is yes. And so some of these we'll say yes to. We'll have to because they'll pay for it. And it allows us to fulfill that mission I showed you. But a lot of them are, we're really sorry, no. But we will help your community college if they need it. We'll figure out a way to skin your cat, but a new TSTC in your area, no, that's not necessarily what we're going to do. So what we have is a funding formula that's going to be increasingly more lucrative to us, and we have a geographic demand on us to go reach more Texans. And if we can solve the politics of that, we'll be able to fulfill that mission. So here are our imperatives. If we're going to realize in an effective way these demands on us, we have got to do things a bit better. We have got to rethink our core business, which is teaching and learning. We've got to make it stronger, more efficient. We've got to find a place where we don't do things 4 times, we do them once for the benefit of the whole state. There's lots of advantages here. We have to do a far better job of migrating our resources out of the back room and into the classroom. Our burden would make a cost accountant blush. And we've got to find a way to get that better handled. Duplications. We talked just a little while ago about this software thing. We have 4 versions. And management wisely. You guys challenged us at the last meeting, and privately you've been saying to us for a while, we're really worried about management and growth. Are you going to be able to keep your hands around this? And so, how do we do that? Well, I think one of the ways we could do it is we ask our really seasoned senior managers to focus on a narrow range of activities, but with a broader scope across the state. And so those are what I see as our imperatives. If we move, then there's 2 things that also have to move: our core business functions and our non-core. The non-core we're calling support. We have to get marketing better. Do you know what a delight it was for me to walk in here and find y'all are talking about the marketing funnel? Because I knew the slide was coming. We've already started this. The president's already decided with me we're going to get to join together to do this, because if we keep doing it separately, we'll never get it right like we could. Another thing that we have to do that's not our core business is raise more money. I think we have the potential in the next year to raise more money as a state system than we have raised combined in the past 10. And it's all because you ask us to commit to fundraising. And we've spent the past 10 months putting the bones together. We've built the ship. And we're about to bring some goods home. We're working on some great deals, and you heard me refer to it last night, with lots of zeros and lots of commas. Can't tell you all the details yet, but I'm really confident. And I think we've also built a structure and a mentality that will sustain this for a long time to come. And then finally, these backroom folks, if you will, functions, we need to make sure that what we are doing is we're positioning them in a way they serve the core function of what we do. Right now, what they serve is the rule book. I'm not poo-pooing the rules. We need rules. But what is not there is the notion that I'm here to make sure we teach another student to go get a great job. And I'm serving those frontline people that are taking them. And that may sound like a trivial effort, but it's not there now. And it has to be for us to take advantage of our scale. Core businesses. You're going to get sick and tired of me talking about these three things. We have got to begin to do as a state, we've got to focus on program vitality. Our product mix is not right. The scale of our programs is not properly sized. The deployment of them geographically is not yet correct. And those that are super high performing aren't necessarily getting strategic investments in them, and those that are not performing at all aren't necessarily being remediated yet. We've started defining how we're going to do that, but we have a lot of room to grow there. Competency-based learning. Competency-based learning will revolutionize TSTC. Adam Hutchison, Irene Cravey prototyped competency-based learning in Hutto and in Harlingen. The early returns are, wow, it's every bit as good as we thought. I had dinner with the commissioner of Tennessee Higher Ed last week and told him how we used his Tennessee Technical Centers as inspiration to do this. And he said, Mike, far and away, the best higher ed we have in Tennessee is those technical centers in terms of return on investment and changing people's lives. And so I thanked him for letting us, you know, I don't know if you know this, we sent 4 or 5 contingencies of people up to Tennessee to study how they do business because they're that good. So competency-based learning programs, and by the way, the Commissioner of Higher Ed mentioned this when he issued his glowing remarks about TS, interrupted the meeting last week at the co-board to had to insert an editorial into the dialogue of the board meeting about how wonderful TSTC is, and he included this in his comments. And then finally, micro-credentials, also called badges. We have an entire generation of students who grew up with games. They have a way of thinking about accomplishment that is shaped by game theory. We know for a fact that breaking accomplishment down into manageable, accessible, and successively more rigorous intermediary steps is the secret to tapping into that game philosophy. That's exactly what badges do. Thanks to the leaders in our educational divisions, we have already written our plan. And we'll start deploying badges in the year to come in a way that'll set us apart yet again from the rest of higher ed, in a way that I think will make us really attractive to the younger generation who will benefit from what we do. So if we do these things, if we answer those imperatives, if we leverage the opportunity that is provided to us by the skills gap and continue to supply what those are needed, we focus on our core business, redeploying everything we can into the classroom, and we make sure that service is the way our backroom operates in an efficient way, and I think we'll be able to continue to do our one big thing. Place more Texans in a great paying job. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions?
We have a copy of your.
Elton?
Chancellor, you could add one more little star up there. Harker Heights contacted me 2 days ago, the city manager wanting a TSTC in Harker Heights, so just another one for this.
I have to change my PowerPoint?
I just want to throw that in there for you.
Either that or just tell them no.
That brings up a question I do have, Mike, about when you show your map, you know, sort of North Texas has a lot of people wanting us, and then sort of along the Gulf Coast, but that big I-35 corridor south of Waco is kind of this big void of why and what do we have to do to
Well, we have Hutto.
infiltrate?
We have Hutto that reaches down to the Austin region.
Right.
So I-35 has Red Oak at the top, and 75 miles south is Waco, and then another 75 to 80 miles is Hutto. So I think our I-35 corridor is not bad. I can tell you San Antonio, the community college system in San Antonio is really good at technology.
Oh.
They really
So
are.
that's maybe why.
Yeah. And so whether there is actually a pent-up demand there that would give us that opportunity, I don't know yet. But then we also, you know, each one of these locations brings their own political barriers to us actually going there. And so we haven't had any, well, we did. Yeah, we did. 3-4 years ago, we had the folks in was it San Marcos or New Braunfels? New Braunfels. We had the folks in New Braunfels. And then Caesar did an experiment with with Hondo, which is southwest of San Antonio. But that again was the community said, come on in here, we'll help you get started and all that, but the program wouldn't make. So we ended up phasing that one out. My point is, I think the I-35 corridor is reasonably well populated right now. I think Houston, we would love to get something over in Fort Worth, but we had a hot prospect and that one just wouldn't make. And then a lot of those other requests are rural communities who are seeking a TSTC that is way outscaled for what their work base is actually going to call for, plus the opportunity expense of pursuing those smaller towns is just not nearly as lucrative as some of our metro areas. For example, Fort Bend County absolutely has the #1 in terms of potential growth. #2 behind that would be the Corpus project. Corpus Christi is expected to double in the next 5 to 10 years, just like Fort Bend County. And they already are suffering from severe workforce issues up there. And so Dr. Garcia is working with Del Mar College over there. It's kind of, that one's been progressing in fits and starts. But if I had to, there's also a Dallas opportunity. I don't know if the economics are going to make it on the Dallas opportunity. We also have Red Oak that we're bringing out of the ground now, and I'm worried about cannibalizing Red Oak. So, but what we have there is a powerful political figure who is pushing us on that one. So,
Could we have a copy of the PowerPoint?
by all means, yes. We'll be happy to send it to you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, at this time, we're going to take a break for lunch. and it's 11:35, and we'll start again about no later than 12:30. And you'll be on. At this time, we will recess to the committee meetings, and the first committee is Committee for Student Learning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee for Student Learning is made up of myself, Chairman Penny Forrest, Joe Hearn. We met this morning with President Stuckley, President Smith, President Wooten, and Brent was there also. And of course, our agenda wasn't very long, but we had some good discussion and a lot of the topics we're talking about today. We do have 1 minute order, and President Stuckley, you want to cover that for us?
Yes, thank you, Regent McKenna. The minute order today is the declaration of approximately 2,285 square feet in building 4B is not needed for educational and training purposes at Texas State Technical College, West Texas. One of the things that TSTC has always had to manage is how much room we have for teaching. You know, it's part of the state space utilization report, and because a lot of times we are different, our laboratories, you know, we show less students per square foot than most community colleges, and so that's something that we have to battle on a consistent basis. So every time we have an opportunity to remove teaching space off of that model, we do. And in this case, West Texas has an opportunity to lease space and remove it from teaching purposes to Nicholas Consulting Group. It's an engineering company that designs and tests electrical and mechanical systems. They have hired students before from the drafting and design program, but they wanted to expand in that area because of the business due to the decline shale in oil and natural gas. And I was going to ask Interim President Smith to say just a little bit about the internship that they're going to work with this company on that property, on that space.
Well, in short, it complements the PowerPoint that the Chancellor was presenting earlier. This company has come to us and said we have a shortage of trained workers. There's a lot of, not a lot of young people that necessarily are going to be able to afford to go out to Midland and pay $1,300 a month for a single bedroom apartment. And so, but basically what they've told us is we could take more work if we had more skilled workers. And so in this instance, we're not on the cusp of that demand. We're there. We're there, and we're seeing it in certain sectors. And so to have a company want to come in and lease space on the campus, provide internship opportunities for our students, and for the students to get that real world experience on actual projects. And it's a win-win for the company to expand business, and it's a win-win for our students. And I sure wish that this would be the beginning of more of these types of opportunities. I'd love to see space not currently being utilized be utilized in this fashion.
Thank you, sir. The recommended minute order is the Board of Regents declares approximately 2,285 square feet of building 4BOF at Texas State Technical College, Sweetwater as not needed for educational and training purposes. Are there any other questions? Thank you, Regent McKenna.
So that concludes our portion.
Thank you, Linda. The next committee is the Committee for Human and Organizational Development. Joe Hearn.
Mr. President, the committee met this morning briefly. We had some conflicts because some of our membership was multitasking, so so we went over some issues from the last time we met as a committee. One was the status of the OPM, and is it still at the leadership level, and had it been flown down below that? Then we talked about some system-wide safety metrics to see where the safety program was going. And we talked about the customer satisfaction status, had it been flown down one more level to the students. And we talked about the status of the system kind of in a state of the union kind of thing. So we didn't get to solve many problems this morning because, like I said, we didn't have much time and we were busy. So at this time, we'll have Jonathan. Yeah.
We have a short agenda for the board, the committee this morning or this afternoon. The first item is minute order 18-4C. That's page 2 of your book there, and it's the employee holiday schedule for fiscal year 16. The Texas Legislature designates a number of days that each agency can take for higher ed. We're able to have flexibility in which we take those, which we try to move those and allow for the most days of operation that we can. So traditionally, we move those days to the winter holiday when the majority of those that we serve are not going to be on our campus. So that's what's reflected on the proposed holiday schedule on page 3. And it results in 13 actual days, which is actually less than the previous couple of years. The report that follows is the state appropriated employees full-time equivalent schedule. This is a quarterly report that we submit. We are required to stay within the cap. We're out of compliance when we rise above 50 FTEs or 10%, which we've not done either. In this case, we do anticipate that related to some program growth in Harlingen that we might be requesting additional FTEs in future periods. And when that's the case, we'll submit a letter to the committee. That's that concludes the minute orders and the reports. There is the matter of the oral report, and I just thought I would talk a little bit about some of the what's occurred since I have assumed the leadership of HR. I assumed the HR leadership role back in the fall. The first priority really has been to keep things running smoothly and not to really go about any radical change at this point, not to initiate any big initiatives. We have other proposals that are occurring that we wanted to be in concert with, and y'all will hear more about that. Initially, I've toured all the campuses, spent time with the campus leadership and the HR leadership. We've really tried to continue the system-wide communication loop across the HR leadership. We meet very frequently. But really the effort, the vast majority of the HR efforts are focused today on sustainability, sustaining the organization, compliance, keeping our compensation systems working and keeping our folks paid accurately in compliance. We had that issue related to time reporting I mentioned earlier. And really the ongoing employee relations issues. They spend a lot of time working with supervisors and individual employees and working to keep the workforce engaged. There's a number of compliance issues that we're currently talking about. Title IX is an issue that really has deferred to HR in a lot of parts of our organization, so we're paying close attention to that. And the big issue on that is sexual assault response, how the institution responds to that, so we're paying close attention that those are adequate. Compensation management, we've had the comp study presented it almost a year ago, and we're really working to continue to administer that, create some protocols and piloting some of those, and working with our system-wide leadership group in vetting how that's going. So that's really what we've been focused on the last few months, and that concludes my report.
A lot of the things that Jonathan is now responsible for affects the outcome of the the performance metric for Mike, so he reassured me that those things would be well taken care of before the next performance evaluation. That's the end of our report.
Thank you, Joe. Next committee for facilities. John Hatchell.
Thank you, Mr.
Hatchell.
Chairman, members of the board. Our committee is made up of Penny Forrest, Keith Honey, myself. Our staff support is Ray Fry. In our meeting this morning, we were pleased to have Stella Garcia join us. It's good to have her in the room with us. Thank you for that. We have 2-minute orders and a review of the project status. Let me tell you, it's an exciting time to be on the board of the TSTC when we start looking at the new campuses and the new projects underway. And to explain those, I'm going to ask Ray Pratt to take care of that.
Thank you, John. As John said, we're bringing 2-minute orders, the progress, or the major project summary report, and then a progress report on the North Texas Industrial Technology Center. The first minute order is found on page 1 of 9. This minute order 19-14 is from Harlingen. This minute order actually has 3 pieces to it. The first is for the approval of the concept for the replacement of the central chiller plant with chillers, cooling towers, all the associated equipment, so basically the whole structure. The second piece of that is to authorize to submit a project application to Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board for a review. And the third piece is approval to proceed with the engineering design project. Air conditioning in Harlingen is obviously very critical. And this project, although has been on the radar screen for a couple years, it's on the master plan MP1, the sense of urgency was not really realized until here just recently. We would have brought you a project to approve, but the funding source has not yet been identified. So the tactic the administration would like to use is to go ahead and start the engineering project. So we're asking for approval on it, similar to what we did with the Waco Water Project, where we'll hire an engineer to go do a design. We'll have the complete design ready to go. We'll have a better idea of what the project cost will be, and we'll have a shovel-ready project on the shelf as soon as the funding source is identified. If you look on page 3, you can just see the location of where the central chiller plant is there in Harlingen. And the Harlingen administration requests the Board of Regents approves minute order 19-14 as written. Are there any questions? Okay, the next minute order is from 20-14 is on page 4. Is from TSTC Waco. And this minute order is to approve the renovation of 11-1 hangar at TSTC Waco Airport. This hangar is leased by L3, which is a good source of income for the Harlingen, or the Waco campus. L3 pays about $132,000 in lease annually, plus they're a partner that also contributes about $880,000 annually to the revenue side of the campus. I think Kevin Dorton and his team need to be complimented on this project. They went out and found some financing by others to help us do that project. Almost half of the financing is going to be financed by others to renovate this. The renovation is necessary for L3 to stay in that building. You can see that the L3 is bringing $900,000. The McLennan County Economic Development Corporation is bringing $1.125 million. The airport auxiliary account is going to contribute $600,000. And then the balance will be through either a loan or a grant that's yet to be identified. If you look on page 6, you'll see the location of the L3 hangar there on the south end of the flight line. The Waco administration recommends the Board of Regents approve minute order 20-14 as written. Are there any questions? Okay. If you go to page 7 of 9, you'll see the Harlingen major project status report. Project number 1, the renovation of building 20 SS. Megamorphos is the architect on this project, and they're going through the programming phase of the project right now. The CMA risk has not yet been selected. The project is going to move. Your book shows that the completion or acceptance would be spring of 2015, and that's going to move slightly to fall of 2015, so that'll be updated on the next report. The second project is a TRB project, which, of course, the TRBs were not issued. All the TRB projects will be revisited again this year, so these will all change. This project may or may not be on the list next time. The third project is a repair and renovation of Building 200D. The design is underway by PBK Architects. Spall Glass has been appointed and selected as the construction manager at risk, and that project is scheduled to complete summer of 2015. The Central Chiller Plant is the project that we're bringing as a minute order to approve the design project on. Are there any questions? The next project list is from Marshall, and this is also a TRB project, which was the original Red Oak concept, and obviously we've had movement on that project, so this project is going to change in scope also and will be revisited as a tuition revenue bond project. The final project report is from Waco. The number one project is the Connolly Technology Center. We continue to dewater that project and monitor. It's going as planned. The GMP should be ready for approval in the spring of 2015. The construction would take place in the summer of 2015 and be complete in fall of 2015. The second project is the runway project that's managed by TxDOT. You know, our share of that is about 10%. It's on schedule and in budget. The third project is the water system design project. Walker Partners Engineers was selected as an engineer on that. They're under contract and they'll complete that design and evaluation in August of 2014. Number 4 is the renovation of the hangar 11-1, and that's the project that we brought as a minute order to be approved. Are there any other questions? Okay, we're going to do a special report, and there's nothing in the board book on this, but this is on the Red Oak project. Okay, this is the site plan. This is the high school parking lot. This is the parking lot, about 200 spaces that is part of the Industrial Technology Center there. This is the building. The very west end of that building is the welding program. The east end is diesel. This block here and this block are both pre-engineered structures. They'll have masonry veneer on them, but they're pre-engineered construction. The center core will have conventional classrooms and offices, and it is a tilt-up wall, cast panels that are cast on site and then stood up with a flat roof. Change the slide. These are the elevations and are a little bit hard to see, but this would be the entrance of the building. This is the tilt-up area here. This is the back of the building. These two are sides. And then this is a little bit easier to see. This is a rendering done by the architect. Still very close to what we're doing, but the colors, we've picked the final colors now. The reds are a lot redder, and the browns are a lot browner. So there's more contrast, and it's really going to be a pretty building. Okay, I need the floor plan. Where is it? There we go. The last time we met, I believe we were over budget. This is a fast-track project, so we were already building, but we hadn't defined the final budget. The perimeter of the layout of the building was already established, the footprint. So we went with we had the CM at risk, Bartlett Cock on board, and then we started value engineering the project and were able to get it into budget. This area right here, we wanted to leave area for expansion anyway, so we left that as a total shell. So it will not be completed. It'll have lighting, it'll have all the infrastructure run to it, but it will not be finished out so that it can be finished into 3 classrooms or 2 labs or office areas or whatever we decide the need is at the time. It won't be needed when we start in the fall of 2014. The other thing we had to do to get in budget was the second floor of this was going to be offices, conference rooms, additional classrooms. Again, additional space that wasn't going to be needed in phase 1, so we're leaving that as a shell, but it can be expanded in phase 2. This is the diesel, this is welding, this is industrial maintenance, CNC machining, manual machining, general classrooms and computer labs. That is high voltage and logistics. We're scheduled, we'll be opening in fall of 2014. I really got to compliment the team that's there, Randy and Jim Rowland's team, for looking ahead. They're getting the classroom equipment, the computers, their curriculum all worked out, and they're all really working hard as a team to make that happen. Progress. This was a picture taken April the 1st. That's the floor slab in place, and there's pier. You can't see the piers, but all the piers have been drilled and all the grab beams are there and they're ready for floor slab. 30 days later, the pre-engineered building structure is up. This was last week. These are the tilt-up panels. The wind has given us a problem. We've lost about 6 days. If we had not had the wind, all of this would have been decked out. These are pictures of it yesterday. You can see where the walls have been constructed and the hardy board is on, and they're going to start putting masonry. Masonry will start next Monday. The red iron in this area right here will start next Monday. The floor slab is to be poured this week, and we're hoping that as bad as we need rain, we don't get it in red oak, so that we can start erecting the steel. And there's another picture of it. Are there any questions? That concludes our report.
Thanks, Ray. Mr. Chairman, that any other questions? That concludes our report.
Okay, thank you, Hatchell. Our next committee report will be from the Committee for Fiscal Affairs, J.B. Martin.
Mr. Chairman, the committee met this morning. We had a rather lengthy discussion, filled up our full time. We have 11 minute orders and 6 reports. All 3 of our committee members are present today. And I'm going to turn it over to Jonathan.
I'm back. Page 3 begins the minute orders. 21-14C is the schedule of charges for the incidental cost of flight-related instruction effective this fall of 2014. There are a couple things that are instigating the changes in this list of charges. Probably the most notable and the one that actually affects this and the 2 minute orders to follow relates to the helicopter program that is anticipated for the fall, though there are no commitments formally committed to at this point. The rotary wing program or helicopter training program looks to be a new revenue source for the aviation program, fills an industry need for helicopter pilots. We anticipate at its full capacity there'd be about 24 students. They currently have 17 on the waiting list, and Baylor has indicated that there are around half a dozen students that are interested in the program as well. So they're optimistic about the first enrollment to that, or first cohort that they would send to that program. They indicate most of these would be former military pilots, and that a lot of the funding would come through VA-funded VA-funded situation. So this minute order establishes the rate for the helicopter program. And we can talk a little bit about some of the other provisions related to the leases, I think, in the subsequent minute orders. There are other rate increases in this specific minute order, including costs associated with the flight instruction. Most of that flight instruction occurs with adjunct instructors, and based on the new Affordable Care Act, they become eligible for health care if they participate at a higher level, if they go beyond part-time employment. And so that would be an additional cost that is anticipated in this new rate structure. That is why it actually says not to exceed $62 an hour. That would slide up and down with at least a 90-day notice for the students. In addition, there are additional rate increases for the operation of aircraft related to increased operating costs for those respective aircraft. We ask, the minute order is stated, the Board of Regents approves the schedule of charges for the incidental cost of flight instruction and flight-related instruction effective fall 2014 semester. The following minute order, like I said, relates to that helicopter program and the cooperative agreement related to it with Universal Helicopters Incorporated. There's some good dialogue about that specific lease and that cooperative agreement in our meeting. Under this lease, it's a $20,000 per month commitment to Universal Helicopters Incorporated, primarily that pays for the lease of the helicopter. We have the option to exit that contract with a 30-day notice, so our monthly obligation under that or exposure would be $20,000 essentially. On the other hand, UHI is committed to an exit provision or 12-month notification for an exit provision under the program. The space anticipated for this is currently used for storage, so it would increase the utilization of the space. We also anticipate further renovations that would be incurred by UHI as a result of the program. We had some questions about this earlier. Are there additional questions?
Not from us anymore. I don't have anybody else on that.
Okay. The next minute order, again, relates to the same contract, the same program. We have a current lease with Max Flight Advantage LLC, and I'm sorry, I'm on minute order 2314 on page 11. We currently have a lease on a hangar that's leased to Max Flight Advantage. They have agreed to amend their lease and provide space for the maintenance of those helicopters, and the amendment would call for a reduction in their monthly rate by $600 per month, and that would provide a 25 by 50-foot pad site necessary to maintain the helicopters. They will not reside in there. This is where the maintenance equipment and where it would not house the helicopters, it would house the maintenance equipment. So. On page 15 is minute order 24-14. This is again from TSTC Waco, and it relates to the property at the East Williamson County Higher Education Center. There are 56.7 total acres in total on the property. The last part of the master plan development exists on 11.1 acres that the college would like to lease to the YMCA of Greater Williamson County for the development of a softball complex. This is a dollar per year lease. They see some benefit in having the community on our campus and creating visibility for the U-Check facility. I believe there's, on page 23, I'm sorry, I skipped one. On page 19, we have minute order 25-14. This is a West Texas submitted minute order for the facility, for one of their facilities at Brownwood. This is a renewal of a lease with the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, which is done through the Texas Facilities Commission. We've historically have leased this space to that agency. They've been a good tenant, and there's an intangible benefit of having that law enforcement presence on our campus there in Brownwood. They're seeking a 48-month lease beginning September 1, 2014 for that facility. I believe the last of our leases that we're submitting to you refers to an item that was addressed in the Student Learning Committee. This is the lease of space to the Nicholas Consulting Group. This is the firm that we're looking to locate an operation in the Sweetwater vicinity, and they do hire our grads. So we are looking at this innovative intern to hire program with them. So there are both tangible and intangible benefits to this program as well. All of the lease minute orders that are submitted have been reviewed by General Counsel. There are attached letters with each of the minute orders presented, and we ask for your approval of those leases. On page 26, we shift to a budget change item. It's minute order 2714C. This relates to a skills development grant through the Texas Workforce Commission. This budget change does not increase our net budget or FTE for the college. Rather, this is required under the funding requirements of the grant, and in order for us to shift the money as appropriate to comply with the requirements of the grant. So it does exceed the requirement for board approval, and so it's submitted for that reason. On page 27, the actual budget change is provided. The budget change amounts to $400,000 of the total grant award of $955,000. On page 28, we have minute order 2814, which relates to the financing of furnishings and equipment for the technical education building at Red Oak, Texas. We are seeking approval to finance $950,000 for instructional equipment related to the industrial training programs in there, in the facility that you saw Ray present to you, along with the $950,000 that will be financed, that we anticipate through the Texas Public Finance Authority. The college is contributing $850,000 towards equipment purchases for the start of class in September 2014. In addition, we're pursuing additional donations of equipment to furnish the equipment needs there. This will equip the building for the September 1 opening, or September opening. I'm not sure if September 1st or not. But we did have questions. It is being financed through Texas Public Finance Authority. It's through a master lease purchase program, which the board has previously approved the use of. We ask your approval to proceed with financing and to submit an application to the Texas Bond Review Board for financing through the TPFA. On page 30, we have minute order 29-14, which is for financing of the renovation of the 11-1 hangar at the TSTC Waco Airport. Again, in the Facilities Committee, we referenced this. This is a a facility that requires significant remediation. There's some environmental hazards to the facility as it currently stands. We see the opportunity here for community or partner contribution to our remediation effort here. And there is a potential loss of income if this does not get renovated. We seek approval to finance the remaining $1.8 million, which is the balance of what is not going to be used from current funds or from the commitments from the City of Waco or L3. We do have letters of commitment from both parties. I think one is included in here. We got the, which is the L3 commitment. We received the City of Waco commitment letter yesterday. The estimated value of the facility post-renovation is $19 million. This is going to be a rare facility, and rather than having an obligation at the end of the project, or if we don't do the project, rather than have an obligation, we see having an asset that we can continue to yield value out of. Unless there are questions, I'll move on. Page 35 is our next minute order. This relates to an item that we brought to you. It was a similar item brought to you in the previous Board of Regents meeting. This relates to our appropriation transfers associated with the partnership funds that are allocated through our Appropriation Act. The system is awarded approximately $290,000 for partnership development activities. We initially had allocated that to TSTC West Texas. When the partnership development prospects did not come about, and we saw other partnership development occurring specifically in the Fort Bend area, we have decided to transfer that money. This transfer is in full. At the last meeting, we did the first half from TSTC West Texas to TSTC Waco. The next item is, I think, the last of our minute orders. It's minute order 3114, the signature authorization schedule. With the departure of Dr. Maldonado, we needed to revise the signature authorization for Harlingen. And so you see he's been replaced with the acting president, Stella Garcia, on page 38. And that's the only change there. Moving on to the reports on page 41. We have our first report. I guess there's a graphic in front of it on page 40. Page 41 illustrates the comparison of budget to expenditures and encumbrances. When we look at the budget or the percent remaining on each fund group area, we do see that we are spending, according to schedule. We have approximately 42% of the year remaining, and in general, we have budget that exceeds that for the rest of the year. So this is as expected for this particular report. On page 42 and 43, we see the 5-year trend analysis for restricted revenue. Again, these revenues are tied to amounts restricted, such as those that are related to federal programs and grants. We do see some decreases that are largely related to either enrollment or to grant funds that existed in the previous year that were not part of this year's restricted revenue package. Page 44 is our pledged collateral report. As you see in the far right column, we maintain sufficient collateralization on all of our investments in compliance with the Public Funds Investment Act. So no bad news to report there. Page 45 through 47 show our quarterly investment report. You see the values, the maturity dates, and rate. We try to balance our liquidity needs with the yield as we are managing our cash needs. On page 47, about midway down on the middle column, you see the weighted average interest rate of our investments here. And we have traditionally benchmarked that against the 3-year Treasury bond yield, which you see those high rates of 0.5% there. Page 48 and 49 demonstrate the use of previously issued bonds. You can see that the bar chart shows that we have almost used substantially all of the proceeds that were available through the bond issuances. What does remain on the Series 2009 revenue bonds still relates to some retainage. The largest amount is the $276,000 here in Waco. That's actually this building. We have some retainage related to the windows here in this building. So, page 50 and page 51 is a similar report on the use of bond proceeds for our Series 2011A revenue bonds. We will see this amount start, and the amount I'm referring to is the last number on page 51, that $3.4 million. That's the amount remaining of bond proceeds related to that 2011A issuance. The projects related to that have picked up rapidly in the last 6 months, and we will see those proceeds begin to be drawn down, and should see this number go down to substantially zero, subject to some retainage at the end of the project. And with that, it concludes my reports.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our committee report, unless there are any questions from anyone.
Okay, thank you, JV.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, at this time, we'll reconvene the committee of the whole, and it is 1:10 p.m. Mr. Chancellor,
You'll see that at the Committee of the Whole, there's one item that is the single accreditation with Southern Association of Colleges and Schools. This is management's response to the challenge that you had provided to us at the last meeting about how is it that we will be well suited to leverage the growth and ably handle the opportunities that are coming our way in the years ahead. I've written to you extensively on these topics, and we spent a lot of time trying to concisely describe the benefits and advantages and challenges that are contained in this effort. Generally speaking, the whole notion of the accreditation is this. We have a lot of different opportunities that are available to us in how we simultaneously leverage our scale as a system, but ensure that we actively respond to the regional natures of the workforce across Texas. We have been studying that for months and months and months now, and are close to developing what we think is the right reorganizational plan. In any case, what we do know is that some of the factors that we had talked about earlier, like the disparate operational practices that are done in the back room and so forth, will always cause us to be less efficient than we otherwise could, and to ensure that we're spending more money in the back room and less money in the classroom. And so what we know is no matter what we do in terms of going forward with our operational structure, we think that step one to any future TSTC starts with combining our accreditation. In just, you know, the accreditations that the colleges have to go through today are done 4 separate versions. And the accrediting cycle happens every 5 years in terms of its report that concludes with SAC COC. But the process of doing it is ongoing. it is foolish for a college to wait until the last minute to do their accreditation. So it's done on an ongoing basis. We've estimated conservatively that as a system, we would save at least $400,000 a year in just direct related accrediting expenses by moving from 4 accreditations to 1. And y'all are probably familiar with regulatory type practices like this. I'm sure they're in the energy sector. I know they're in the hospital sector, the banking sector, and so forth. And so the notions of the efficiencies this create are surely very easy to see. So the entire management team joins together to recommend to you that you approve this step for us, because in and of itself, it'll provide a very valuable benefit. But it will also allow us to continue to fine-tune our operations in a way that increases efficacy while improving the efficiency of our various operations, and most importantly, focusing our resources in the earning capacities of our teaching and learning. And so I heartily recommend this minute order to you, and I think if you would like to take the time to ask your executive team, they will too.
Any questions? Thank you, Mike. Okay, it is 1:20 p.m. and at this time we'll adjourn. We'll adjourn the committee and we'll move into the. No, you're not that lucky yet. Yeah, Joe, don't start the engine yet. Okay, at this time, we'll move into the Board of Regents meeting. Ron, will you give our invocation, please?
Pray with me if you will. Heavenly Father, we come to you today to give thanks for the benefits and the blessings that you show us every day, some that we recognize and those that we don't. Lord, we come to you and ask for guidance for the leaders in this room, the leaders across this system, leaders across our state as we move forward in our goal and our charter in serving the people of this state. Lord, I ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, at this time, we'll call the Texas State Technical College Board of Regents meeting to order. The meeting of the Texas State Technical College Board of Regents is called to order this Thursday, February 13th, 2014 at 1:21 p.m. We'll have a determination of quorum, beginning with Ms. McKenna.
Linda McKenna present.
Joe Hearn present.
J.B. Martin present.
Quentin Darcy present.
Keith Honey present.
John Hatchell present.
Penny Forrest present.
Joe Gurecki present.
Ella Skinner present. There is a quorum. At this time, I'd like to recognize a guest, Deborah Shipp.
Good afternoon. I'm Deborah Shipp, the Professional Development Officer. On behalf of TSTC's Leadership Institute, it's my honor to introduce, as co-facilitator with Alishka, some of our members. We have representing Waco Campus, Selby Holder, Karen Sonnenberg, Rhonda Beecham, and Debbie Pelton, and Craig Lampy. And then from System, we have Nikki Gonzalez, Heather Carl, Melissa Curtis, and we have some people joining us online. From Marshall, we have Jessica Ford, Wendy Niemeyer, and Deborah Coleman, and then from West Texas, Kim Porter. Thank you.
Ms. Chancellor, you have any further comments?
No, sir, not at this time.
At this time, we'll call on Dr. Stuckley for an update on TSTC Waco activities.
Good afternoon, Regents. There's There's basically three things, and I'm not going to take a whole lot of time today because I know how busy you are, but there's three things that I wanted to address today. Number one, when you came in today, you had a copy of the TSTC Waco 2014 spring publication. I hope you have some time to look at it. Some of the things that I will be showing in a minute are covered in here, but we feel like it was a good example of what we've been doing here at TSTC Waco over the past year. The second thing I wanted to mention too was, you know, in my 10 years as president, I always like to give a small token of appreciation to our regents when they come to Waco. And they were always generally in your room or on the table when you came to the board meeting. However, this time, I remember last night at dinner, one of our regents said, "Elton, I got my Cracker Jacks," and so I kind of took that to possibly mean that there could have been something missing there. And I'm not going to say which regent that was, but Regent Martin, I want you to know I didn't forget you. And I will tell you, there's some history here, especially since we're celebrating our first 50 years. When Vice President Dorton came in and started looking at all of our enterprises in the airport and the golf course, he said, "I want to give you a tour of the airport." And we came on the south side over here, and there was an area that had never been mowed. And I said, "Vice President Dorton, why is that not mowed?" And he said, "Well, I want to show you something." And when we got out and looked, it was what they refer to as an airport barrier system chain, which was the last-ditch effort to stop a plane during the base days when planes would fly in. And when we got out and looked at that thing and started looking at it, the total weight when we picked up that chain was 317,000 pounds. Each link weighs 34 pounds. There were 9,323 links. We actually kept some of the links for the chancellor, for our regents, for our presidents at the campuses. And so and the rest of it we sold, and we took in $24,500 just from the sale of that chain, which had not been used in, I guess, over 50 years. So I would ask Mr. Dorton to come and just show it to you. We have a nice little state of the Texas layout, and where the link itself will fit on the stand for you to do and take. Here's the thing. I didn't know if we just need to know from all of you how you would like for us to deliver it to you, because each link does weigh 34 pounds, and so
it is heavy.
That's why I took the platform.
it's just something on behalf of Waco to symbolize the first 50 years, and we've developed a little stand for it to where you can put it flat on your desk or anywhere and keep it as a keepsake as we enter the next 50 years. So it's I hope you enjoy it. And if you will please let Lillian know how you would like it delivered to you, we will certainly get that to you. Now, please don't ask me to carry it to you, but I will do so if I need to. So, with that said, I would like to show you, this video is 12 minutes and 56 seconds, and it is a accumulation of everything that we've done over the last year, including part of the previous year when our board meeting was delayed and cut short in Taylor, Texas, or in Hutto last year because of the West disaster. So if you would roll that, please.
Digging through our treasure trove of activities and detailing a sample of our accomplishments reminds us that everything we do is significant, and one day may even be considered historic. One of the most important designations a college can have is accreditation. TSTC Waco received its reaffirmation from the Southern Association of Colleges and School Commission on Colleges in 2013. The college was first accredited by SACS in 1968. TSTC negotiated a 75-year contract with Wharton County Junior College, allowing for significant expansion of its program offerings in Fort Bend County. The partnership with WCJC began in August of 2001. Preparing students for college takes on many forms at TSTC. from joining forces with Girl Scouts to encourage young females in 4th through 12th grade to explore technical careers during their Girl Genius STEM conference at TSTC Waco in March, to bringing more than 20 teams of junior and senior high school students together for Best Robotics each fall. The College Readiness Team leads these efforts to promote and encourage technical education and more. The College Readiness Team also took the lead in partnership with Greater Waco Advanced Manufacturing Academy. The Academy offers local high school students the ability to get trained and qualify for local in-demand jobs. Working with TSTC in Guama offers 4 programs: welding, machining, electronics, and robotics. Most recently, College Readiness led the efforts in the partnership with Conley ISD to create Conley Career Tech, the first early college high school in Texas to focus solely on technical degrees and certificates. Working together, TSTC and CCT are creating a curriculum to satisfy both high school and college requirements. For the upcoming school year, CCT is accepting 100 incoming freshmen and 100 incoming sophomores, with a handful of 11th and 12th graders who will already participate in dual credit activities. Though Conley ISD students will receive priority, enrollment is open to the greater Waco area. To ensure that TSTC's instructional delivery is current, TSTC Waco off-site locations in Hutto and Fort Bend faculty are utilizing competency-based learning, or CBL. The demonstrated achievement of skills or work activities to a predefined standard, rather than traditional course-based lecture lab with a single-pace schedule, this allows students to work at their own speed. TSTC Waco and TSTC Harlingen partnered to develop a TSTC CBL program. Seeing the success of CBL instruction, the system is using the process developed to expand CBL offerings to all TSTC locations. While TSTC Waco aviation students naturally seek high-flying careers, during the Aerospace Division Annual Student Achievement Awards seminar, they heard from someone whose career took him much higher: retired astronaut Story Musgrave. Musgrave was a NASA astronaut for more than 30 years and flew on 6 space flights. He performed the first shuttle spacewalk on Challenger's first flight. Musgrave told the students they should never despise working for Best Buy or McDonald's. What you learn from any of those humble beginnings goes with you for the rest of your life. He cited himself as an example. He was overhauling tractor engines at 12, plowing fields, working as an airplane mechanic in the Marines, and eventually a test pilot. All that experience allowed him to be chosen by NASA to overhaul the Hubble Space Telescope. It's because of inspirational instructors that our aviation students have begun focusing on the challenge of aviation competitions. For the second year, TSTC's female team will compete in the Air Race Classic. Women's air racing started in 1929 with the first Women's Air Derby. This year's route will take the team from Concord, California to New Cumberland, Pennsylvania, approximately 2,400 statute miles in length. The objective is to fly the perfect cross country. TSTC's team consists of Aircraft Pilot Training Assistant Department Chair and 2014 Chancellor's Award winner Angel Newhart, and students Bond Henderson and Ali Hereda. They will be flying in a Cessna Skyhawk 172S. After placing third in the overall team ranking during the National Intercollegiate Flying Association 2013 Region 4 SafeCon competition in October of 2013, TSTC flight team will compete against the top college teams from across the nation at the SafeCon 2014 National Competition later this month in Columbus, Ohio. Under the direction of TSTC Campus Coordinator David Dunham and Assistant Coordinator Brandy Blahuta, many dedicated faculty advisors, TSTC Waco students won 91 individual medals, 58 contest medals, and including 26 gold, 18 silver, and 14 bronze in March of 2014 in the Texas Skills USA competition. From there, approximately 40 of the winning students will compete in June during the National Skills USA Conference in Kansas City. Chef Mark Schneider, TSTC's Waco Culinary Arts Department Chair, recently received the President's Medallion from the American Culinary Federation. This prestigious award is presented to food service professionals who exemplify culinary excellence and leadership. Chef Snyder is currently the president of the Texas Chefs Association. In time for our 50th anniversary, the first building constructed on the James Conley campus is getting a facelift, the Colgan Automotive Center, named after one of our original regents, J.H. Jack Colgan opened in October of 1970. And in fall of 2014, the automotive program is offering the Mopar College Automotive Program specialization through a partnership between Chrysler Group, LLC, and TSTC Waco. The curriculum is designated by Chrysler, and TSTC Waco provides hands-on training on the latest vehicles, components, and instructional materials utilizing high-tech diagnostic equipment. To provide our students with the latest equipment, even when shrinking budgets make it increasingly hard to do, sponsored program teams are making it possible. Recently, TSTC received process automation equipment from Chevron Phillips Chemical Company, LP's Pasadena Plastic Complex, valued at more than $350,000 earlier this year. The state-of-the-art equipment will provide hands-on experience for students in process controls and instrumentation. Pasadena Plastics Complex recruits and hires students from the college's instrumentation and computerized controls program. An important part of donations come in forms of student scholarships or sponsorship. For the third year, Luminant is sponsoring 25 students in the industrial systems and engineering, instrumentation, and electrical power control technologies, providing them the paid tuition, fees, internships, and the opportunity for future employment. TSTC's Luminant Power Track program is currently valued at approximately $60,000 a semester, allows Luminant to hand select their future workforce. Persistently seeking grant opportunities continues to pay off. The Comptroller's Office announced in March that TSTC Waco was receiving a JET program, Job Building Fund grant of $238,426 to purchase equipment to begin training mechanical engineering technicians in Hutto. The grants are provided to help colleges acquire buildings and equipment needed to train workers for high-growth industries. In Texas, from January 2nd through April 11th, 2014, there has been 1,113 jobs unique and unduplicated for CNC machinist or lathe mill. The average posting period is 45 days, meaning that it's very hard for employers to find qualified machinists. And, according to Wanted Analytics, current median salary for machinist is $45,100. The top demand markets are Houston, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Austin. Companies that hire TSTC graduates include Lockheed Martin, National Oil Well Verco, Bell Helicopter, Baker Hughes Corporation, General Electric, and Toshiba. TSTC Waco's Auto Collision Department was selected as a runner-up in this year's Collision Repair Education Foundation's Ultimate Collision Education Makeover Grant, receiving a $10,000 award. The grant honors schools that, while doing a great job educating students in collision repair, need a boost in budget. These grants are just part of the 18 active grants with a total of award value of $4.1 million that TSTC Waco's Office of Sponsored Programs generated. Helping our students succeed in college continues to be our important focus. Programs such as Quest for Success, Another Chance to Succeed and Refocus, and the Retention Early Alert System, along with a food pantry, textbook loan program, child care assistance, mental health counseling, tutoring, and interpreters for the hard of hearing are all geared to give our students the assistance they need. And the programs are showing results. In the past year, use of the Quest for Success program has increased 52%, the Early Alert System by 63%, and more than 70% of our Refocus students are retained or graduated. And once our students are ready to graduate, TSTC Waco's Career Service provides critical job search and placement assistance. In 2012, the Career Services had 467 students visit the department for assistance. In 2013, the number increased to 713 student visits. The department is on track to see those numbers increase again. Since the beginning of 2014, there have been 318 students. Since JobStar, an online talent matching portal for TSTC students and potential employers, was launched in Waco in 2012. Last semester, student usage of TSTC's Career Center has increased from 14 to 61%, and student usage of JobStar has increased from 4 to 39%. There are currently 2,472 employers registered to use the service, and 2,381 jobs have been posted specifically for TSTC Waco students. These efforts have helped increase the institutional placement rate by more than 5% since 2012. From helping a community in need, to holding professional development seminars, to participating in local events, the college gives to the communities it serves in a variety of ways. April 17th, 2013 began much like any other day. But then, as the TSTC Waco hosted Board of Regents Community Celebration Dinner in Taylor was winding down, an explosion rocked the nearby town of West Texas and impacted many of the TSTC family. Immediately following the disaster, TSTC employees reached out to fellow employees and students living in West, set up temporary shelter to house those displaced, became a drop-off point for donations, gave time and money to help those in need, held a golf tournament, raised funds for the West Volunteer Fire Department, helped clean up the city, and much more. More than 40 business professionals and education leaders from Central Texas gathered for the first Business and Education Symposium on March 17th. At TSTC's new facility in Hutto. Keynote speaker and supporter of the event, U.S. Congressman John Carter, spoke of the importance of the college and its mission. Also in attendance was State Representative Larry Gonzalez. TSTC Waco mascot, Turbo, was recently featured along with other area mascots in the City of Waco public service announcement, Keep Waco Clean and Green. These are just a few of the examples of things we do every day to deliver innovative instruction, offer first-rate care and support to our students, and provide exceptional resources for the businesses, industries, and communities we serve.
As you can see, that's some of the things that we're doing here in Waco to continue to fulfill the need of providing that trained workforce. And as the Chancellor said, when we look at our new funding model, it's about placement and salaries. And you know, everything that we can do to keep those students and help place them is a plus first. There's one thing when I reviewed the video the other day and did not have time to change, you know, you saw up there about the city of West Texas. I know that community. I go to church there and I know everybody there. And I will tell you that was very catastrophic for that community. One thing that was missing that we did not put in the video that I wanted to say today was it wasn't just TSTC Waco that jumped to help that community. It was the entire system. All the way from the Chancellor's office, all the way to the Valley at Harlingen, to Marshall, to West Texas. So it truly was a system effort in providing relief and assistance to those individuals there. And one last thing before we move on is I'm still in my Vice Chancellor role for student development, and I just wanted to say I'm very, very pleased of the teams that we have across the colleges and student learning. We are really making some strides. You know, one of our big focuses is on competency-based learning. We are starting those, as the Chancellor said, it was piloted in Harlingen, UCHEC, Fort Bend. We're working to expand those efforts across the system, and so we're making a lot of progress. Instead of duplicating efforts, we're looking now at a system-wide faculty evaluation document. When we started looking at this, everybody does something different, and we're wasting resources on trying to, it's not efficient to operate in that fashion. So we're looking at those ways of having one, once we get them developed and put into place, everybody uses them, and we're not trying to reinvent the wheel at every location. So having said that, Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
Thank you, Dr. Stuckley. If there are no amendments to the agenda, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
Second.
Penny Forrest, second by John Hatchell. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of February 13th, 2014?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Gurecki, second by Ms. Forrest. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Linda McKenna moves. Here, second. Second, Joe Hearn. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Procedures for public comments at the TSTC board meetings are governed by the state Texas statute and by the bylaws of the Board of Regents of the Texas State Technical College Systems. Section 551.042 of the Texas Open Acts meeting restricts the TSTC Board of Regents from dialogue in response to public comments. Are there any public comments at this time? Having heard none, we'll go on. The meeting of the TSTC Board of Regents held at TSTC Waco, Texas on Thursday, May 8, 2014, after proper posting and in accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code for the specific purpose provided in sections 551.071, 551.072, and 551.074 will recess from open meeting and into closed meeting at the time, and the time is 1:41 p.m. At this time, Ms. Chancellor, you have any further comments?
Only that I'd like to draw your attention. Elton already showed you the magazine. Going forward, one of the things we're going to do is broaden the scope of the magazine, make sure the entire system is engaged in this, and that with the help of the foundation, we're going to develop distribution lists, and this thing will be getting out all across the state. The other is the almanac. As you recall, the co-board produces this once a year. Just calling out one college in particular, if you look at the students who succeed after developmental ed, your TSTC Marshall has the highest performance rating in the state of Texas. Wow. So, this is always a good read, although most higher ed people agree there are some data points that aren't quite correct, like it seems one of our colleges was founded in 1903, which we know couldn't possibly be true, so there's just FYI.
As long as they're right about Mark.
And then finally, I'd like to say, on behalf of everyone, thanks to President Stuckley for a wonderful meeting. Thank you very much.
Joe, do you have any comments?
No, sir.
Penny, you have any comments?
Not a one.
John?
No, sir.
Keith?
No, sir.
Ivan?
No, Mr. Chairman.
I'm fine.
Mr. Hearn?
No, sir.
Linda? Is there any further new business? Okay, the next Board of Regents meeting is scheduled in Waco for August 13th and 14th. We'll have a budget meeting that will begin at 1:30 on Wednesday, the 13th, so please plan your calendar accordingly. At this time, we are adjourned.